All right, what's up, guys? The red light is on. Dave Van Auken back on the show. We went longer off air than on air. I think it's the fourth, maybe fifth time talking. Impa
Yeah.
Kasanganay, PFL light heavyweight. I don't think I've said that on the show before. Impa, thank you so much for coming back on the show, man. Appreciate you,
Oh,
brother.
shoot. It's an honor. Great to talk to you again. It made me happy. Yeah, we were talking a bit off air. Just good to see your face again. It made me smile. I was like, "Let's go, man!" Like
Yeah.
it's cool. It's great. I'm proud of all you're doing and like seeing your podcast grow. And I think I even asked you, like, what's your vision with it? And like, man, you're doing it. So I'm proud. I'm proud to see you doing it.
Likewise, likewise. So much to get into. And before we get into particular dates, I even have two fun dates for you to kind of, take you down memory lane. I know August 14th, San Antonio, Texas, a very big, important date for you on the docket. We got Martin Hanlon coming up in the light heavyweight tournament for, final four for you. But before we kind of get into particular details, Impa, kind of take us down this long journey, right? Making your pro debut 4 or 5 years ago, you go on a string of fights, you get on the Contender Series, you go on this run, you get into the UFC, a very popular three letters in the fight industry. Have some success there. A lot of things go your way, some things don't. You leave the UFC, you go on the Orlando, you go on the PFL Challenger Series, saw you down there as well. Then you
Yep.
go on this run. Just can you put a bow? I know it's a lot for you. That's a lot. You could probably write a book. This could be a movie maybe one day, Impa.
Mm.
Can you tell us a 2-3 minute synopsis on this MMA mixed martial arts journey that you've been on through this 4 or 5 years for you?
Man, it's like
Big one
when
for you. Big one.
right, it's starting off strong. When I think about the MMA journey so far, it's I don't sometimes you don't stop and think, right? So it's like
Right.
it's just been on the go, go, go to make it like the long answer short. And to elaborate, it's one of those things where you really just see like God's goodness, right? Like for me, like faith is what drives me. But I thank God I'm a Christian. It's at the same time like you have to have faith even when things are rough. We talk about the UFC, great moments, challenging moments, winning my first fight in the Contender Series, but at the same time not getting contract,
Yep.
kind of waiting around. COVID happens, and you're like, oh gosh, and then make UFC debut. A couple of days after getting my second Contender Series fight, right? Similar to my entry to the PFL, like
Right.
I fought Contender 9 days later, or whatever it was. Fought Maki Patolo, who's no chump at all.
Yep.
Then fighting on the Challenger Series, Grateful got a finish. Then a couple weeks later, we're fighting Corey Hendricks, who's a beast as well. It's like some parts of my career, I look at it like God showed me I've been here before, right? And I just think it's like like the coaches I had, the decisions I had to make were all worth it. And man, when you making the hard decisions and making like the wisest decisions you can, it always pays off. Right? My coach said it today. He's like, whether somebody's won or lost, you'll never regret working hard. A quote by John Smith, and that's how I look at it. Like I don't have any regrets, you
Right.
know. And I'm so grateful for my time in the UFC, and I'm praying that they're all blessed over there. And I am absolutely in love with being in the PFL. Like
Yeah.
it's cool, Like I've had different moments too. And this is like a cool shout out to like to every agent I've ever had. Thank you, whether I work with them or not. To everybody that I've come across with, like it was in God's plan, and I didn't know, right? So I'm in a grateful position where I gotta grow as a man, grow as a fighter, grow as a human, grow in my faith. And your faith is really tested. It says like you get perseverance and endurance when you go through trials. And especially that Buckley fight, like, all right, second fight in the UFC, thinking about it be the man, let's go. And then and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guy's like, he's like, you got some work to do. And that's
Yeah.
all it was for me. It's like any moment that wasn't like where I believe that I shined or I didn't shine, or it always means I still have work to do. And I'm so grateful that I'm in the position I am today. Go claim his victory on August 4th, and then go become a world champion. Like I started training when I was 24. Like I met you a year or so into me training, right? And like
Yep.
now, look at us talking now, and it's just saying like to stay the course. And if I could put like the 2 to 3 minute cap, it would be saying like staying the course always pays off, and having faith and just knowing where you're called to be and knowing who you are always pays off.
And I know it's so hard to keep your feet on the ground and to not think too far ahead. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're all human. And at the end of the day, you're 2 fights away from being to win $1 million in mixed martial arts. Like Impa, like I remember talking to you, honestly, it was March 22nd of 2019, Island Fights 54 in Pensacola. I mean, in Panama City Beach. And I
Yep.
remember, what was it? Maybe 12 and 12? Like it was $1,200. You are literally 2 wins away from winning $1 million. I know you can't think that way. And I know it's one fight at a time. And I totally understand that. But that's
Yeah.
incredible to be that close away. PFL giving you this opportunity. And it's so eerie. It was funny because that's one of my notes too. And the PFL this year, this 2023, is very similar of that UFC run of how the Contender Series and the Challenger Series, how you had to go back and forth of that nature. It's eerie similar of both
Right.
opportunities.
Yeah, that's cool that you mentioned that. Gosh, March 22nd, huh? Um, that's cool because that was my third pro fight, and I fought my second pro fight a week before that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Both at
and
Island.
we both at Island Fights. Shout out
Yeah.
to Island Fights. Thank you guys. Like that was the dean and everybody, like the whole crew. Yeah, you look at it, you're like it's similar. And that's what I guess like we were talking about earlier. It's like you've been there before, and now you're more prepared. You're more mature. Like I always refer to the faith in the Bible, not to press it on anybody, but there's a really cool part like when David's about to fight Goliath, and I take inspiration from that, especially in my season as being in a light heavyweight. And David's destined to be king. He's a great warrior. He's a shepherd, but it's like sometimes you got to start on that lower level. You got to start on that bottom ground where you're just taking fights, fighting whoever, and it's preparing you. And like before David went to battle, they're like, "Oh, what are you gonna do with this warring man?" And he's like, "Shut up. I've killed lions, tigers, and bears, everything to protect my father's sheep." And I thought what was cool about that, it's like you have to check people, but say I've been here before in different ways. And that's what I'm here to do. It's like, yeah, I know I'm fighting guys who are quote unquote bigger than me. I know I fought as low as 170. I know I fought at 185, but it's like I remember helping Brian Burberry and I remember helping Scott Holtzman. I've been there with the guys who are killers and people just didn't know. And then I came to kill Cliff and like I got scars on my face. I have moments of like, just beat up. I've been in the Buckley fights, and it's like, man, I went through all that not without a purpose, you know.
Right.
And now it's like, yeah, eerily similar. But I'm that much more mature, more polished, refined, and I believe I've been gifted to fight. At the same time, you can't just rest on your gift. And August 4th, I'm going to show it. I'm going to show that. And I'm going to get right back to work the next day and get right back to it and go claim that victory. And yeah, the $1 million is coming, the world title's coming, and it's like to show people that like no matter where you go in life, like if you're called to do it and you have faith and you keep working hard, man, like you're right there. Like you're right there. It's not on some set timetable. Like you had to wrestle since you were 2. You had to be a podcast and do journalist and be interviewing the entire school when you were in 2nd grade. No, it's like, I'm passionate about this. I'm gonna put the work in to make this happen and I have faith while I do it. And it's a cool place to be because then you can reflect back on moments like you and I talking 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, and laugh and be like, yeah, like that's like, look at this now. And if it never went through those moments, like, where would we be able to handle where we are now? Yeah. So,
Very true. Very
yeah.
true. With you, it's so funny. It was in Orlando, Florida. It seemed like it was yesterday, but probably 6 months ago. I think you were cornering. I think it was Elvin Espinoza, if I remember right. Cornering
Yep.
Elvin Espinoza, and you're like, Dave, I'm going to be back here 2-3 weeks later. I'm here for the light heavyweights. Was it mainly just the opportunity to be there for the light heavyweights, or Impa, was that kind of your game plan? Were you trying to change it up? Were you doing something with your body to become a light heavyweight? Or was that just, hey, PFL has an opportunity for me to become a light heavyweight?
Yeah, it was kind of both. So I was looking for a fight for a while. I fought
Right.
Jared Gooden on an XMMA card last summer, and I was just looking for a fight, and I ended up waiting around, had a couple of fights fall through, and I was like, man, like I'll fight anybody, whoever, wherever, whenever, like I've always been. And I said, I put a post out. I said, I'll fight anybody, heavyweight, light heavyweight, welterweight, middleweight, whatever. If you finish me, or that was like the idea. So I put it out as a finish. or submission. It didn't matter if it was in the cage. It didn't matter if it was at the gym. It didn't matter if it was in a parking lot. Like I needed to fight. I wanted to fight, and I was gonna put money down and say like, look, I'll fight whoever, whatever, wherever. And I remember the UFC was trying to fight for Buckley, which I thought would be a cool in again. I put my name in the hat for that. Over in St. Preux, they turned down the fight. It was like thing after thing after thing, and I was like, man, I don't care who or where. And then my agent Randall called me one day. I was in the shower praying. I was like, God, like I need to sign. And then my prayer, Randall calls me, and I'm just like, he's like, hey, PFL light heavyweight, what do you think? I'm like, let's go. And PFL, gave opportunities. Like, this guy's really wanting to fight anybody, any weight class. And I remember people asking, like, oh, you're going to fight these guys at light heavyweight? I'm like, you'll see. You'll see. And then it was just kind of like we were talking about earlier. So, like, man, I've been through it with some of the best of them, like John Salter, guy trained Chris Weidman a little bit, Brian Barberena. There was Joe Selecki there, Chris Honeycutt. You start seeing just different weights and different bodies to where you're like, man, like I'm here to outwork, out hustle, out fight. It's not whoever. So when that opportunity came, I was like, let's go PFL, and everybody laughs at me like, this guy doesn't cut weight. It's like, I don't care. Like man to man, let's go and let's go claim these victories.
There we go. There we go. One last thing for you. Then we have 5 fun questions. We call it going bananas. We'll let you run, Impa. I literally just got done with Kenny Florian, PFL commentator, one of the MMA pioneers. We were talking about the 2023 playoffs, and we were talking about dark horses. We're like, what fighter I asked Kenny, I'm like, what fighter can win it all? What fighter out of the final 4 that's going underneath the radar can win the whole thing? And he said, Impa Kasanganay. He goes, I love Impa's, just where you came from. And, he loved your opponent going into it. He loved your bracket, and he thinks you can win the whole thing. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. We literally just talked about it 20 minutes ago. Man. What did you think? What's your thoughts about Kenny Florian thinking that not even you can win coming up on August 4th, but you can win this whole tournament?
Sure, I agree. I received that, and I really respect Kenny Florian. He's seen it. Of course, he's still an excellent black belt. He's an awesome fighter while he's fighting, and he's an analyst. He sees it. And, to me, that's affirmation. That's confirmation. It's encouragement, too. It's a challenge for me in a way. Like, I take it as a challenge, like in a healthy way. Like, yeah, you believe it, so do I, and I'm going to go take it, right? And that's how I look at it, like, at the end of the year, I'll have my hands raised. I'm going to have my hands raised on August 4th, have my hands raised at the end of the year, claim that victory. And the $1 million coming, money coming. So that's not even the focus. It's the focus is like, go become a world champion, everything else that comes with it's going to come with it. And let's keep pushing the envelope for MMA. Like, look how much it's grown, right? So that's my focus. So it's like, I'm very grateful, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot. And I'm grateful to be that dark horse and grateful to be in the position I am. And those are my thoughts on it.
There we go. All right. 5 fun questions, Impa. The first thing that comes to your head. You ready?
Yep, ready.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live?
Cardiff, Wales.
Ooh, I like that. Your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, man. Miracle.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What's your lucky number?
17. Bless.
Beach or mountains?
Ooh. Beach.
Okay. Beach. And what is your biggest fear?
None.
There we go. Impa Kasanganay going bananas, guys. August 4th, San Antonio, Texas, the dark horse of the light heavyweight division for the PFL. Impa, it's always an honor talking to you. We've done this a couple of times here on Fight Bananas. Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate you immensely. Impa, go get that W, all right, my man?
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. Great talking to you again.
Always, brother. Talk to you soon.